He turned off the app at a red light and smiled. My phone buzzed the exact second he did it, like it had been waiting. We were still 5 minutes from my apartment, and the doors clicked. It was 1:04 a.m. on a Friday. I had stayed too long at the office, the kind of overtime that tastes like tin. I'd ordered the ride outside the all-night pharmacy because the thought of the empty bus made my shoulders go up. The car matched the make and plate. He leaned over and said my name right, neat and confident, and the heater smelled like pine and an old leather jacket that had seen winters. I did all the stupid checks I've read about in comment threads and true crime summaries and thought I was the kind of person who listens to rules. He drove like people who have learned to be invisible to police. Smooth on the brakes, no lane dramas, one hand light on the wheel. His profile in the rear view looked kind, the soft tired kind. His smile, when he used it, didn't show teeth. I shared my trip with Erin like always. Her red receipt pinged gray to blue. I texted her the usual code she made me promise never to skip. Green. She sent back a thumbs up and a sleeping face. My battery was at 32%, which felt like a superstition. We turned off Main early. Not wrong, there are 3 ways to my place, but not my usual. The GPS on his dash showed the detour as green and the ETA as the same. My app showed the route in blue and the little car like a bead sliding where it should. When the light at River went red, he reached to his phone, tapped, and the screen went black. Signals junk by the bridge, he said, almost apologetic. Going offline for a minute, so it doesn't reroute me stupid. The thing about rideshare apps is you don't need signal to keep a trip live. The thing about me is, I don't correct men alone at 1 a.m. in their cars. My phone buzzed. A banner slid down from the top. Ride paused. Reconnecting, then vanished. The heater fan clicked up 1 notch without him touching anything. The click was small, but my body filed it like a smell you know means fire. What's my name? I said like a person in a thread. He looked in the mirror and said it again, still neat. He said it softer this time, like fitting it to my face. The red light swam green. We went under River, and the sound went dull, our tires talking to concrete in a round whisper. I tried my door's lock out of pure superstition. It was down. I pulled the handle gently, and it didn't test it. Child lock engaged, I told myself. Common. Legal. Explainable. My heart's little dog had woken anyway. The radio was off, but the speakers breathed a faint hiss that rose and fell as if someone was adjusting a volume they couldn't decide on. Outside, the streetlights stuttered as the overpass girders chopped them into slices. In the rear view, my face looked a shade behind itself, delayed by the cheap mirror, I told myself, and the fact that I was tired. You can drop me on Linden, I said, light, reasonable. I'll walk the last block. Door to door, he said, not mean, just sure. We came up on the empty automotive plant where Linden meets Sailor. The chain link glinted in the sodium light, and the wind made a trash bag whisper against it like a kid confiding. We were the only moving thing. My app cleared its throat again. Trip ended. Rate your driver. 5 blank gray stars blinked like eyes. I didn't press the stars. I didn't touch the phone with my hands because suddenly I didn't want my fingerprints anywhere near evidence of me agreeing to anything. I think you hit end by mistake, I said, mouth dry, voice like I was asking a favor for someone else. It'll catch up, he said. His smile stayed small and private, the way a person smiles when they're memorizing something. Sometimes it hangs. Erin's name lit the top of my phone and went away. I opened the notification shade. 2 texts. You okay? And then, weirdly, a second older one that said the same thing with a timestamp from 20 minutes in the future. My phone thought it was 1:12. The car's dash thought it was 1:04. The little blue dot showed us still under the bridge. I tried the safety center in the app. The screen blinked white, then loaded a help article about lost items. The phone vibrated in my palm in a different pattern. A low long buzz like a doorbell underwater. A banner said, Weak GPS. Your ride may not display accurately. Don't exit the vehicle unless instructed by your driver. See? He said as if the app was on his side. Lot of glitches lately. He nodded at the support message like you nod at a dog to make it heel. We turned onto a street I didn't know existed, or had never noticed. The map called it Service Road 3. No houses, just a long fence and the backs of warehouses, their sodium lights wincing. It felt like a place the city forgot to narrate. My stomach made a silent fist. I clicked my seatbelt release a fraction and felt it stick. He noticed the movement without looking back. He adjusted the mirror a millimeter with 2 fingers. In its small rectangle, I watched myself breathe and watched him not. People do breathe when they're driving. You just don't notice unless you're trying to match them. He said, conversational, "You ride this late often?" "No," I said too fast. He smiled again like a checkbox. "Me either." We passed a green sign that said river with an arrow pointing down, even though the river was left. My phone buzzed in my hand, haptic double tap, the pattern I use for calendar events. A banner slid. Reminder, don't argue. Share your trip. Sit directly behind the driver. Keep your hand by the handle. The title bar said from notes. I hadn't written that note. The text stuttered and then read. If the driver turns off the app, don't use your name. Where do you work? He asked, regular small talk, and I had the clean, cold thought that telling him would be using my name in another shape. Printing, I said, which was true in 2017. He nodded like we were in on it together. We stopped again where service road crossed an access lane. No signs. Just a warehouse door with a light above it like a lidless eye. He put the car in park and took his hands off the wheel. He didn't turn around. He said, "We'll let it reset." He reached to his phone and set it face down in the console cup holder like a person putting a baby to bed. The screen reflected faint green in the plastic. In the rear view, my reflection smiled. I did not. The radio breathed, found a station for half a second. A weather report fragment. Gusts to 20, river cresting, and lost it. Then the speakers whispered something that used my name like a nurse calling it softly at dawn. I said, louder than I meant, "I'm going to get out." He didn't turn around. "Not here," he said, voice low like for a skittish dog. The locks thumped again even though I hadn't touched them. The hazard lights did a single polite blink without his hand moving. In the mirror his eyes cut to mine and away, quick, like he was checking a blind spot that was me. "I'm opening it," I said, already pulling. The handle moved the way handles move when you're dreaming them. The child lock ate the gesture and left me with my own heartbeat. He rested 2 fingers on his own door handle. "Please don't yank," he said. "It's sometimes..." He didn't finish. The radio hissed, found breath, and said my name in a careful nurse voice. We both flinched. "My friend's tracking me," I said, louder than needed, like volume could widen the world. "She knows the plate." "Good," he said instantly. "Don't say my name." His knuckles were pale where he held the wheel. His smile sat there like something he'd put down and forgotten to pick up. "Notice. Just shape." My phone buzzed again, the double knock haptic I use for calendar. Reminder, don't argue. Sit behind driver. Hand by handle. If driver turns off app, don't use your name. The header said from notes. I hadn't put that there. The last edit time was 1:16 a.m., which it wasn't, and then it was briefly on my screen and not on the dash. "Why did you end the trip?" I said. I watched the mirror, not his shoulders. "So it doesn't pull us," he said. "That's not a thing," I said, and hated that I sounded like I wanted it not to be. He lifted his phone like a peace offering without touching the screen. It was face down, black, but a ghost of light moved under the glass, green and patient. "When I keep it on," he said, "it adds a stop behind the plant. Tells me you asked for it. Locks engage. The time freezes. It uses your name like it knows me." He swallowed. "I go offline, it doesn't invite." "Invite what?" I said, and he said, "Don't look at the rear window." Of course I did. The glass was just dark. In the mirror, though, something like rain walked down it. Not real water. Pressure. It left no trail, just the idea of a hand dragging along the other side. He put the car in drive again and took his foot off the brake but not onto the gas. The car idled us forward a foot and stopped. "We're going to go to the diner on Sailor," he said. "It's lit. Lots of people. I'll pull into the front where the camera is. On 3, I'll pop my lock." You pull yours twice. Slide up. Don't open straight out. Don't say your name. Don't look back. You're asking me to trust you, I said. I know, he said, and something in his voice sounded like the flinch before you touch a hot pan anyway. He glanced into the mirror and added, very softly, I haven't smiled since I was a kid. This isn't that. The radio found a station for one beat, traffic at the bridge is light, and lost it again. The speakers exhaled and let the quiet back in. Aaron's name lit my screen and slid away. A voicemail badge appeared and then vanished like it changed its mind. We rolled. The street signs looked a half shade bluer, like laundry that had too much sky in the cycle. Service Road 3 ended at a chain gate that had never mattered to me. He turned before it, easy, the way you do with a dog on a lead you don't want to wake. Each time we passed a light, the reflection in the passenger window kept my mouth a beat late, then corrected like it hoped I hadn't seen. My phone vibrated hard, the emergency SOS pattern I set and never used. It asked if I wanted to call. I slid the side button because I wanted a siren, any noise with edges. The countdown began with the terrible honest numbers. He said, without taking his eyes off the road, do it if you need to. If they answer, don't say your name. The call did not make the film siren scream. It buzzed. The bar showed emergency call. A voice picked up that was not a person and said, hold for dispatcher. Do not exit the vehicle unless instructed by your driver. Then a second voice grabbed the line, human this time, and said my full name with my mother's cadence. I hung up because I believed a rule I didn't have. The diner's red sign rose ahead like a wound that glowed. There were 3 people inside at the counter and the gold of a heat lamp. He slowed into the lane nearest the door and put his blinker on like he was teaching a class. The car behind us did not exist in real life. In the mirror there were headlights low and wrong, like 2 eyes underwater. 1, he said. The lock stumped. 2. The radio sighed like a person rolling over. 3. He flicked his lock with his thumb and it popped with an old car click. I yanked mine twice. The second pull hit different, a lever meeting a decision, and the pin rose. I slid forward hard and felt the belt bite and release, and I didn't push the door open. I rode up to the front with my shoulder awkward at his, swallowed between console and dash. He didn't touch me, just leaned away to give me space without it looking like he gave me space. He stopped in front of the diner door and hit his hazards. He put both hands on the wheel high, open, the way you do when cops are at your window. Get out, he said, normal voice. Don't run. Walk. Don't say your name. The door handle up here was a future I could hold. I opened into the raw slice of neon and fryer oil, and my legs were new, baby horse and furious. The air had the wet river under it. I did not look behind us. I walked to the glass, into it, through it. The bell on the door made the same soft ding my phone sometimes makes when it forgets it is mine. A waitress with a tired bun looked at me over a stack of plastic menus, not surprised. Sit anywhere, she said. Kitchen's still doing eggs. I sat at the counter because people. My hands looked like hands that had been somewhere they shouldn't. I set the phone down face up. A banner asked, are you still with your driver? Return to vehicle to resume your trip. A second banner already waited beneath, trip ended, rate your driver. The stars blinked 5 gray, like eyes that hadn't decided. Out the window, hazard lights blinked polite, then stopped. The car pulled away smooth and small. In the glass I caught myself in the corner of the diner's TV, the closed captioning a beat behind the anchor's mouth the way my reflection had been. My name lit my screen as a call from unknown and crawled off without ringing. A new note appeared in my notes app by itself, timestamped 1:16. If the app turns itself off, don't correct it. Don't use your name. Don't look back. Go where there are eyes. Aaron texted, this time with the timestamp that matched my phone. Are you okay? Call me. I typed I'm at the diner on Sailor. Come. Before I hit send, a receipt slid into my inbox. Thanks for riding, it said. Your trip ended at 1:04 a.m. Route, pharmacy home. Additional stop, Service Road 3 Gate B. You tipped $5. I hadn't. The map showed a line that paused under the bridge and looped a tight circle by the plant like a knot tied in a string. I backed out of the email. I stared at the chrome napkin holder until it held only me. The waitress set down a glass of water. Mint hit my nose, or pine, or the clean chemical from his vents. "You look like you saw a ghost," she said in the tone people use when they haven't seen one and don't want to. I opened my mouth to say my name to make myself real, and didn't. Outside, a sedan idled at the curb with no one in it and hazard lights dark. In the window's reflection, matching the beat of the floating captions, its blinkers kept time. My phone vibrated with the specific haptic my calendar uses for standing up. "Leave now for home." The banner said, "Your driver is here."